to the legend tonight. I'm Cassandro, and this will be a highlight of the show from the Gary Mabbutt Legend Night, which was held in Enfield tonight. So let's have a look and see what went down.
Guys, listen. Can I just say that you know, every once in a while, football throws up special people, and not just special in the fact that they're great footballers, but special with what they have inside of them. And I've got to say that in my lifetime I've been very fortunate. I've met quite a few, but none more special than this guy, Gary Mabbutt. I think he's a legend of a footballer and did absolute miracles for our club. But when you look what he had to deal with throughout that period of time, you know, being diagnosed with diabetes on many occasions, or certainly one or two that I can think of, players turning up as his own because he's in a coma, and that's some of the things that he's had to deal with. He's since gone on in retirement, became an unbelievable ambassador for our football club, but also within the Diabetic Society he's become a major influence over the way things are dealt with, and obviously we will talk a little bit about that along the way. He's also become an honorary doctor, is that correct, Mabs?
Yes, I was very fortunate that about 3 months ago...
Hang on, I haven't said talk yet.
You said, is that right, Mabs?
Yeah, you just said yes, you just answered yes.
Yeah, that's a boring answer, isn't it?
Yeah, so he will tell us a little bit, but I've got to say, he's an absolute legend. He's a fantastic friend of mine too, and what this guy's been through, we will touch on. In fact, in recently what he's been through, you wouldn't believe. To turn up here tonight, you wouldn't believe what he's been through. He's an absolute hero. Can we please have the biggest round of applause ever? Come on, tell everyone a little bit about how this doctor thing materialised. How did it happen? How did it come about?
I got contacted about 3-4 months ago from the University of Bath, who every year they give out some honorary doctorate degrees, and for basically my playing career, but also for those 40 years of hopefully giving diabetics hope for being able to achieve things in their lives. I'm Vice President of Diabetes UK, so obviously for the work that I've done over the years with diabetics, they thought that giving me a Doctor of Health is the actual degree they've given me. So I was there 3 weeks ago at the University of Bath for my graduation. So all dressed up in the regalia, and we walked through the middle of Bath to the theatre there, where I became a doctor. So of course, you know, obviously it was very privileged and very honoured to be given that. You are allowed to have the initials DR in front of your name and be called Dr. Gary Mabbutt. But of course, if you're on a plane and someone says there's a doctor in the house, you will keep very quiet.
Probably it's getting such a degree and an honorary degree. It's all linked to the work that you did for the Diabetic Society, and the way you've helped and get it publicised, number one, but also advance the way people are looked at from a diabetic situation. Yeah.
Yes, I think when I was first diagnosed nearly 40 years ago, there was very little education or very little knowledge about diabetes. And when I was first diagnosed, I was playing for Bristol Rovers at the time, and New Year's Day we were playing away at Leicester, and I probably had the worst game I've ever had in my whole career. I've been feeling really ill during the week.
That's debatable.
I was playing in midfield at the time, and so I was very thirsty for the whole game, feeling sick. And after the game, obviously, got back to Bristol, and I was taken straight to the club doctor, who diagnosed diabetes. Now, I had no idea what he was talking about. He said, Gary, you have to be on injections for the rest of your life. I was taken straight into hospital, and one of the first questions I wanted to ask was, what about my career? And so we contacted 3 of the top specialists in the world on diabetes, and all 3 of them said that there'd be no way I'd be able to continue with a footballing career. What's required, the fitness levels that you require, you know, day in, day out to be a professional footballer, they said would not be possible for a diabetic. So we didn't accept that, so we carried on looking. I spoke to a diabetic specialist here in London, and he said, look, Gary, no one's done it from a young age as yet, but you know, if you're prepared to go for it, I'm prepared to support you. So the rest, they say, is history. So yes, it was for me it was a big piece of work. It's a problem with your blood sugars in that if non-diabetics ate 10 bars of chocolate, your pancreas will produce insulin to keep your blood sugars level. In a diabetic, the pancreas has either stopped working or is not producing as much insulin. So basically, what it means is that you can't have too much sugar, and everything is weighed up against your injections, etc., etc. So of course, as I said about before, when I was diagnosed, my family came to visit me, and the knowledge of diabetes, as I said before, wasn't very good. And my brother came in to visit me. He brought me 3 shoot magazines and a box of Maltesers. But anyway, so I was Bristol Rovers at that stage, and of course, since then, when I moved to Tottenham, I started doing okay at Spurs. The media picked up on it straight away, and we got a lot of publicity about it. And so hopefully, that first few years I was at Spurs, we did a big poster, so every diabetic was diagnosed during that time. We'll get this big poster, the big picture of me, and all these write-ups about diabetes and what you can achieve, etc., etc. So yes, I think that was, say, 40 years ago, and I think the honour coming from Bath University was because of the work I've done over that period of time.
Incredible. So while we're on the diabetes subject, I've did Q&As with Gary on a number of occasions. And while we're touching on the diabetic subject, can you just give this wonderful audience an insight into the moment when you were injecting yourself and Gaza came after a game, and Gaza came by?
I'd be Gaza brought up. I mean, obviously we're going to talk about Gaza, I'm sure, later as well, about other things. But the first away game we played, after Gaza had joined us, and as soccer stars, after we finish a football match, okay, we go into the dressing rooms, we get changed, go into the players' lounge and have a drink with the opponents, etc., etc. Being a diabetic, I have to inject myself before every meal. And as pampered soccer stars, we have a team coach. On our team coach, we have 2 chefs who cook us a 4-course meal on the way home, with wine if we win, all very nice. So I always reach to the coach to do my injection. I'm sitting on the coach, got my needle out, got my insulin out. I'm just putting the insulin into the needle when I clock Gaza getting on the bus. And he's staring at me the whole way. I'm halfway down the coach, he stopped by the table, he's gone, "Mabsy, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I didn't try to explain to him what being a diabetic meant, I said, "I'm a diabetic, I have sugar diabetes." And at that stage, he thought that was a very famous boxer, So, no, I have sugar diabetes, Paul. I said, I have to inject myself 4 times every day. Which he went, "Well, just while you're a footballer?" I said, "No, I inject myself 4 times a day for the rest of my life." He went, "No." I said, "Yes, what, 4 times every day for the rest of your life?" I went, "Yes." I looked at him and he said, "Cool," he said, "they can't wait to die, can you?" I shared a room with Gary Lineker when he came to the club, and had a couple of hypos where my blood sugar goes low during the night, and one night he woke up and I was folding all the bedclothes up and I was like singing songs, So in fact the very first night, it's a bit weird this one, but anyway, the very first night I spent with Gary, exactly.
I told you putting you into his deepest, darkest secrets.
We were away on a pre-season tour to Norway, and we played the game in the afternoon. After the game, we went to a local restaurant, had a meal, a few drinks afterwards. Gary went back to the hotel about an hour earlier. About an hour later, I've gone back to the hotel. So I've got the key to the room, opened the room door, walked in. Gary's asleep in the bed. 2 beds, of course, sorry, in one of the beds. And so I've come in. Now the rest of the story comes from Gary. He said, "I came in, I took off my jeans, I held my jeans up and I was dancing around the room with my jeans in my hand, singing the current #1 hit from Gloria Estefan, 1, 2, 3, 4, come on baby, say you love me." So Gary woke up to this, and obviously he thought, "Oh my God, team captain Gary Mabbutt heard all about him. He's pissed." Anyway, so I carried on dancing around the room. And unfortunately for me, Eric Torsfeld, our goalkeeper, who I'd shared a room with prior, was going past our door. heard the singing, thought, aye aye, party in here. Knocked on the door. Gary opened the door, and as soon as Eric walked in, he took one look at me and said, Gary, he's having a hypo. So Eric knew that in my bag I always carry fruit pastels with me. So I went in my bag, got the fruit pastels out, gave me like 6 fruit pastels, and within 5 minutes I was as right as rain. And Gary Lineker couldn't believe this, how I appeared to be so drunk. And then, of course, 5 minutes later I was normal. Every time I see him, he still reminds me, he said, but Mabsy, he said, can you understand? When I woke up and you're singing that wonderful song to me, he said, I was a married man, you were a single man, it was our first night together. He said, what was I supposed to think? So, but anyway, I had another hypo with Gary, and he had to call the physio who came and looked after me, but by that stage he knew all about it, so he dealt with it quite well.
Funny.
We were playing a League Cup game, it was against Burnley at White Hart Lane. So you train in the morning, go home at lunchtime, I do a blood test before my lunch, then have my lunch, we'd sleep in the afternoon, and then drive into the game in the evening to White Hart Lane. So I was living on my own, got back after training, did a blood test, and it said 16.8, and that's quite high. So I thought, that's weird. Anyway, I had a bit extra insulin to bring it down to get me level again. So of course, I went to sleep in the afternoon, and then I woke up at 6 o'clock the following morning in Barnet Hospital. So I went to sleep, I didn't wake up, I was obviously didn't turn up at the game. Fortunately, I think it was an Aussie called John Lacey who lived near me, and they came round to my house, called the police broke in, and I was in a coma in the bedroom. And of course, when I went to hospital, I woke up, trying to look at what had gone wrong, and I have this blood testing machine. And I know there are a couple of diabetics here this evening who know what I'm talking about. We had this machine, and it used to go everywhere with me, in my football kit bag, to every stadium, every game, because I had to do blood tests before, during, after matches. And I've been carrying it in my bag the whole time, and I hadn't really checked it. I didn't think it would get broken in such a short time. Anyway, when they tested the machine, it was reading 10 units too high. So where I should have been 6.8, which is like normal, was reading 16.8, so when I injected to bring my sugars down, I went down too far, and of course, unfortunately it's called a hypo, and they are quite dangerous because they can come on very quickly. So yes, so I had the hypo, and then woke up in Barnet. And then it's so weird waking up there and just trying to put everything together in the first few minutes. But things can happen, but I've got to be honest to say that I've had two bad comas in 40 years. So that was one of them. The other was after an England game against France at Wembley.
It wasn't during.
I mean, we worked, when I was first diagnosed, we had to work so hard on making sure that, because can you imagine, if being a diabetic, I went hypo during a game, the publicity, if it was live on TV or whatever, publicity would be immense. So we had to make sure that I would never have a hypo during a match, because diabetics all around the world seeing that would obviously get very worried about it. And when I had that first hypo, or first coma, for the League Cup game, after that game, 46 worked the fire service who had diabetes were relieved of duty, because they saw what happened to me, and they were just told to not go into work. And so we had to then work with Diabetes UK, do everything with its fire services, put things in place to make sure that if they're going off, they had to be tested, had to test their machines, and so we got them all back into their jobs, but it took a while. So yes, fortunately I was did a lot of investigating about where my sugars would go during matches to make sure that I wouldn't go low during a game. But fortunately, it never happened.
Guys, I think you'll realise when you listen to him speak how incredible this guy truly is to fulfil his dreams, to fulfil the dreams of many others who were afraid of diabetes and what they could achieve with diabetes. And this guy has been a shining light and an unbelievable ambassador for anybody who's had sugar diabetes, and for me has been possibly the greatest advert that sugar diabetes will ever have, and for that I think he deserves a round of applause.
So at the end of my contract with Bristol Rovers, I could write to all the first division clubs and say, look, I played for the England youth team and 21 team, so many games for Rovers, blah blah blah. I'm available for transfer. So to every First Division club, I got 2 replies. One from Aston Villa saying, sorry, can't even offer you a trial, thank you very much. And one from Birmingham City. Ron Saunders was the manager there. So I turned up to Birmingham, met Ron Saunders, wanted me to play in midfield. It was a time when Birmingham had a really rough side. I mean, it was when I say rough, I mean tough side, like Mark Dennis and Noel Blake, Nick Harford up front. They were a team that was like almost a Wimbledon type team. But to me, to go play in the First Division, being given this offer, I shook hands with Ron Saunders on that day. We just had to then sort out the contract. I drove back to Bristol. Following morning, my phone rang, picked up the phone, and it was Sir Bill Nicholson. And obviously, Bill said, Gary, he said, oh, Bill Nicholson here, and I was like, wow. He said, look, I know you're available. I've seen it on the list. I've seen you play a number of times. And I think you've got the ability to be a Spurs player. I'd like you to come and talk to us. So I drove straight up to London, met with Bill at the White Hart Lane. When I drove through the gates of White Hart Lane, I knew that's where I wanted to be. This was my place. And Bill took me around White Hart Lane, then took me up to Chesham, where the training ground was at the time. And the players had just finished training. They'd all come in, had their showers, and were in the canteen. So I walked in to be introduced to Keith Birkinshaw and obviously Peter Shreves, who was the coach. As I walked in, all the Spurs first team, were there in front of me. Now, I'd only ever seen all these players either on Match of the Day or on Top of the Pops. Nicky was one of them.
I'll sing for a while later.
But they were all, to me, they were all international star players. Keith Birkinshaw made it very clear to me. He said, Gary, I haven't seen you play very much, but Bill recommended you to me, and I'll go with Bill's word. He said that maybe 2 or 3 years, and we'll teach you the Tottenham way, teach you how to play in the group, then hopefully you'll become a Tottenham player. So I was very happy to sign on those, on the things he was giving me. I could have gone straight into the first team of Birmingham City, but Keith telling me to take 2 or 3 years, I was happy to do that, to sign for one of the, I believe, one of the top clubs in the world. So I signed for Spurs, signed a 3-year contract, and 2 weeks later, we've gone on tour. Before we went on tour,
how much did you get? I mean, are you prepared to disclose how much did you get? No, how much did you get?
Personally,
signing on for you.
Okay, I was earning £17,500 at Bristol Rovers a year. Okay, so I came to Tottenham to sign with Tottenham, who are a top First Division team, and Keith Birkinshaw, who could be a bit mean, offered me £18,000 a year. And
too much.
And he gave me a £3,000 signing on fee spread over 3 years. So I signed, I signed on those terms, and say 2 weeks later, we went to Norway pre-season training and games. But before we went, we had a few injuries. So I was taken on the tour, and then in the first game of the tour, there were a couple of injuries. Keith Birkinshaw then put me into the middle of midfield, my first ever game for Spurs, and then I stayed there for the next 16 years. So, expecting to be in the reserves for 2 or 3 years, I came straight into the team, made my debut at Wembley in this country against Liverpool in the Charity Shield, and then played the first game of the season at home against Luton. And you've got to remember, for all the fans, seeing this whole, they used to sign in Steve Archibald or all these big names, £1 million signings. I say there was this Gary Mabbutt from Bristol Rovers, like end of season bargain basement sale, £105,000. Never heard of him before in their lives. And as you know, I think, and I found over the years, Spurs fans can be quite demanding as what they require from their players. And for me, I think the luckiest thing that happened for me that day was that nobody had a clue who I was, and then in the first 5 minutes, we got a free kick. I made a run in the box, Glenn Hoddle put it right on my head, and I scored. And suddenly from that day, 36 years ago, to this day, my relationship with the Spurs fans started then, and is still ongoing now. It's been one of the best things I've ever had in my career.
feelings must have been running wild. It must have been one of complete and utter shock. And then suddenly you're at Wembley and never looked back from there. What was your feelings when you were picked? It must have been incredible.
I think, to be honest, I mean, of course, when I first arrived at Tottenham, coming from Bristol, the West Country, my accent, I got so much ribbing from the team, it's unbelievable.
No.
Farmer boy and all that, the usual, who's your favourite, who are your favourite singers, all the Wurzels.
It's football banter, guys, it's football banter, trust me.
That tour went on with Norway, my first ever trip. So at the end of the Norway trip, we played like 4 games and I played in 3 of them. So then coming back on the plane, obviously I took my training shoes off so my feet were sore. So I got back to Heathrow, went to put my shoes on, gone. So I had to walk all the way through Heathrow to the baggage claim with no training shoes on. Got there and there these shoes on going around. So the lads obviously welcomed me to the team in a certain way, but no, going to the Wembley game, people always ask me, Gary, how can you explain it that 3 weeks earlier you're playing for Bristol Rovers and 3 weeks later you're playing for Spurs at Wembley against Liverpool? How did that happen? How can you become such a much better player overnight? Of course, the truth is, I didn't become a better player overnight. Suddenly, I was put in a team of international class players, and I think you were so
you were, man.
I think on the pension side, and the thing is that we've seen so many players in the game, and you as Spurs fans have seen so many Spurs players come in. They're going to be the next George Best, the next superstar of football, and those people never make it, have the potential, but never actually get to where they should have got to. And for me, I just felt I was so lucky because when I first went into the Spurs team in Norway, and then the first games at Wembley, and then against Luton in the league, I felt I belonged. And I just fitted in with the team so easily, and I can't explain it. It was just that it was one of those things whereby, rather than taking an eternity, because when you come to Spurs, one thing you have to accept is that the expectations and the pressures are massive on you, and yet it didn't bother me in the slightest. I loved football, and to be able to play for a team like Spurs and to have that total enjoyment, that's all I worried about. I didn't worry about pressure playing for Spurs at Wembley for the first time. My God, Wembley, growing up, Wembley was like an iconic place to me. Saw England win the World Cup there. It was a place that I always wanted to play. And suddenly, within 3 weeks of leaving Bristol Rovers, I was playing at Wembley for Spurs, the top teams in the world. So, but it didn't faze me. I don't know why. I was just saying, I can't explain it, but I just seemed to fit in.
So he has no feeling in his feet whatsoever. And just to show you the miracle man that this guy is, he's here tonight. Not long ago he went camping with his daughters. Do you want to carry on the story?
I'll carry on the story. My eldest
I've got the pictures for you, by the way, on my phone.
My eldest daughter, Stephanie, she's at Cambridge University studying veterinary medicine. So every summer recess they have to go and do placement. So we got her a placement in South Africa with a vet who works in the Kruger Park. So we're staying in a house in the Kruger Park, and so she's at one end of the house in one bedroom, I'm at the other end of the house in another bedroom. So she started running into me about midnight and said, "Dad, my finger's bleeding, something's bitten me." So I thought, you think, oh my goodness, snake or scorpion. I said, look, how are you feeling? Headaches? The toxins can work very quickly. She said, no, I'm actually feeling okay. It's just the bite's my finger. So I cleaned her finger up, she went back to bed, I went back to bed. An hour later, something bit me on the thumb. And I couldn't see it, so it just woke me up, I couldn't see it. So I thought, oh, goodness sake. So I went to get out of bed to go to the bathroom just to clean my thumb up. As I went to get out of bed, the whole bottom of the bed was just covered in blood, and my foot was covered in blood. And it wasn't a snake, it wasn't a scorpion, it was a rat. And the rats had come into the bedrooms, and obviously looking for food or whatever, got into the bed with my daughter and bit her thumb. One of them came to my bed and was eating my toe, which ate
it actually ate his toe off.
Ate it down
his
to the
toe
bone.
off, down to the bone. And part of his foot. I have the pictures. He sent me the pictures. I am in complete and utter shock when I saw them. I've never seen anything like it in my whole life. You see his toe eaten down to the bone by a rat, and he has no idea it's going on until he sees all this blood.
So anyway,
He's been in hospital on numerous occasions since he got back from South Africa. I actually thought for him to be here is an absolute miracle, and it shows the character of this guy.
What was the best thing about it was the eight toe, two toes, but one of them a lot worse than the other. But also eight underneath the foot. So, of course, by the time I've woken up, it's in a bit of a state. So I had to. The following day, we're in the Kruger Park, 16 miles from the nearest town. So I had to drive into the nearest town, go and get a tetanus injection. But then, 4 or 5 days later, the infection started to take hold. So I came back, I was in agony, so I came back to this country. When I got back here, day after I got back, I was taken into hospital for a week, where I was put on intravenous drips and blah, 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 where they tried to fix the holes. So at the moment, I've been in hospital just on an outpatient on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday this week, because being a diabetic, they're hoping that the holes will heal, but it's going to take time because our circulation to our feet is slow. So rather than a non-diabetic who get all the blood flowing in, it'll heal a lot quicker. It'll take a bit of time. So hence that's why I'm wearing my croc and my shoe looking a bit odd. But no, it's one of those things that happens in life.
Oh yeah, it happens all the time. It happens all the time, doesn't it? Yeah. How many times you had it happen to you? Every day.
But you wouldn't actually believe this, but in fact, in a lot of countries in this world, rat bites and mice bites are quite common. So it's not common here, but of course we're in a thatched house in Africa where the animals can get in through the roofs. But still, it's still very unusual because generally, if any of you non-diabetics had a bitten toe by a mouse, you wake up straight away, kick your foot, and it will go running off. Being a diabetic, I couldn't feel it, so I just carried on having a wonderful meal.
Guys, you think I'm kidding? It's absolutely incredible. I mean, when he told me the story over the phone, when I rang him to say, don't forget Friday, he was telling me what's gone on, and I was thinking, oh yeah, someone's just took a bite and made him bleed. Then he sent me the pictures. He's actually ate his full toe here, and a bit of his other toe, and a bit of his foot. He's totally ate it away. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, but what I've got to say is that when the doctor said to me, I was so lucky that the other rat came and bit my finger, because if he hadn't bit my finger, I wouldn't have woken up. And he said that other rat would probably have carried on eating and made a lot more damage. So, in a way, I'm fortunate. So there you go.
Oh, God, this guy. Come on. I mean, is this guy a god or what? A team that was winning trophies and on the up and up and up, and a team that was capable of becoming the best team in England, possibly in Europe. Then we get to '84, and we go to the UEFA Cup. Talk us through your thoughts on that UEFA Cup year and the final, and how many great players we had missing, and what from my perspective, I think it was a boost for the club's youth setup, because we virtually won the UEFA Cup with a youth team, or players that had come through the youth setup, which is incredible. Talk us through what your thoughts.
Oh yes, of course, the European run that year. I mean, all Spurs fans here have been to European nights at White Hart Lane. European nights are so special, and I don't actually know why they're so special, because the atmosphere seems to be incredible. I think the all-white kit that we wear for European matches adds to that as well. But the atmosphere inside the stadium is absolutely incredible. I remember getting through to the final, and of course, Anderlecht in the final. I'd been struggling for about 3 months had a double hernia, and Ozzy was struggling with a knee injury, and so we went over to Anderlecht for the game, and we were both on the bench. I came on just after half-time, or at half-time. We drew over there, which was a great result for us.
Should have won comfortably.
Yeah, no, the team played well, and we should have won it, but we drew, came back to White Hart Lane. And then it was Steve Perriman got booked, I think, and it was had to miss the second leg. We had Red Kemp was out, Glenn was out. And so again, so then it's who's going to replace Steve Perriman? Now there's a choice between, I think, me or Ozzy. Now, obviously, Ozzy had a knee injury, I had a double hernia, so it's a big decision for Keith Brookenshaw to make. I could only last probably about 60, 70 minutes. Ozzy could probably last a little bit less, but they had a player in midfield called Enzo Schifo, who was their playmaker. And I think Keith chose me to be the man to mark Enzo. Thank you, Mick. Mick wasn't one of the best man-to-man markers in the game.
No, I got man-to-man marked.
Exactly. Mick was younger people here may not have seen Mickey play. If you take a Christian Eriksen, that's very much what Mickey was like. Now that was the way that he played, the style that he played with.
Much better.
Huge amount of talent, but certainly wasn't a man-to-man marker. So, and nor was Ozzy, to be fair. So I was given that role, and then after say 65, 70 minutes, I came off, Ozzy came on, and then obviously we got the draw, and then went to penalties. And all you Spurs fans will know that I was never really regarded as one of the quickest defenders in the world. Okay, speed wasn't one of my strengths, but if you ever watch the video of that final, when Tony Parks makes that final save that wins us the UEFA Cup, I am the first person to get to Tony Parks as he runs towards the stand. So yeah, it was an unbelievable night. We went in, got changed, and then by this stage, I looked in the whole of the Tottenham High Road. All the Spurs fans came. It must have been like 80,000 Spurs fans just all down the High Road. We came out to the old building at the front there on a balcony, and just standing there, it's about midnight by now, looking out over all the fans and the singing and the joy in the fans' faces. It was an unbelievable night and fantastic memories. What are your thoughts of that? What are your thoughts of that final?
The same. I think that in one's lifetime we are given moments in time that are reserved for you or you as a group. And I think given an opportunity to win the UEFA Cup final, which in those days was a massive European trophy, in front of your own fans, on your own stadium, on Keith Birkenshaw's last game, and to win it with the very, very last kick of the match, when almost the previous kick you felt like the chance had maybe slipped away, when Danny missed. And my feelings are is that our fans, they won us the trophy that night. Yeah, of course we were out on the pitch and we had to do whatever it was that we had to do, but when Danny missed, it was easy for our spirits to drop. But the fans, when Danny went back to the halfway line, sang One Danny Thomas. It was absolutely incredible. It was like, it sends shivers through me now. I'm getting goosebumps now, thinking about it, the way our fans lifted Danny's spirits and lifted the old team spirits. And it was like the reward for our fans for showing such strength in what was an incredibly disappointing moment. I'm certain that that strength that our fans showed enabled Tony to raise himself to save that last penalty. And from that moment on, it was the most wonderful, wonderful evening. Me, Gary, Danny Thomas and Graham Roberts had been selected for the full England team the following Saturday at Hampden Park. And we were still celebrating in the Bill Nicholson suite at 7 o'clock in the morning, weren't we? And the taxi came straight away to Hart Lane to pick us up, take us to Heathrow Airport, to fly us up to Scotland for this big England game. So it was incredible memories that you can't buy. It don't matter how much you pay, you'd never forge memories like that or create memories like that. It was truly incredible, amazing. But then, for me, from that moment, it was like we'd won 2 FA Cups, we'd won the UEFA Cup. From that moment in time, I felt like this is the team of this decade. We're going to be a team that's going to take everything by storm. What went wrong, Mabs?
Cheers. To be honest, I think that throughout that whole era, and we have a history and a tradition at Tottenham, and the way the game should be played, the way we want the game to be played. As I said before, I love football, and I love football such a degree that, you know, some of my favourite players, well, even at those stages or even now, you know, are star players at other teams. You know, of course, our team is. I mean, I look at even Hazard at Chelsea, what he brings to the game. What these players around the world can bring to
He's
the
got
game.
a nice name on, I've got to say. And by the way, I did to Belgium many years ago.
I love the game and the way that we play the game. Now, what we used to do as Tottenham, and what was very different to the way that Arsenal went about their work, is that Arsenal, when they had a player that was moving on, was getting too old, they had a system that they played, okay, and they brought a player in to fit into that system. So they would keep the same formations, the same way the team was playing, the same way the team would work. What Tottenham did is that we would go out and we loved it. We'd go out and we'd probably buy some of the best players in the game at the time. Maybe Chrissy Waddle came in, and then all the way through the time that I was there. We had Jurgen came in, David Ginola, Sheringham, we had Anderson, we had so many players that came in, you know, who were top players. But what we did, we bring players in and then we try and fit our system around those players to some degree. So, you know, making it so that we had some of the best players in the country, but as at times when we were found to be wanting, it was because maybe that you know, we weren't as boring as Arsenal. You know, they won championships. You know, it was the 1-0 to the Arsenal and boring Arsenal. You know, that's what it was like at the time. And my biggest ever regret was Arsene Wenger becoming the Arsenal manager. Arsene Wenger is a very good friend of mine. We did a lot of work together on the World Cup in South Africa. And I sit with Arsene Wenger and talk to him about football, and he should have been a Tottenham manager. Where he talks about the game, where he talks about wanting players to express themselves, what he wants from his players in the game. You know, that to me was like, and he came into Arsenal, and what really sickened me was that he won trophies with Arsenal by playing a Tottenham type way. And that was so annoying. But you know, as I said, we have at times at Tottenham had some great squads together where we should have done better. You know, why we didn't actually get over the line as far as, I mean, during my career I think we came third on one occasion, fourth on 2 occasions, but never, once we were close but not close enough. It's time now. It's time now that we've got a squad of players that I honestly believe. I mean, people ask me, Gary, this current squad of players, we didn't buy anybody this summer. We didn't sell anybody. Well, not selling anybody, great, because I think this squad of players that we've got, it's still work in progress. During the pre-season games, the likes of Lucas Moura, Nkudu, Lamela, all did really well. So they've now stepped up to the mark. We've got young players now fighting for places in the team. So for me, if we can keep building on that, and if people say to me about the new stadium, this and that, I don't care about the new stadium for the first game in September. We did well enough at Wembley last year. We can't wait to move into our new stadium. It's going to be absolutely amazing, absolutely fantastic. But I believe that this group of players is good enough to at least put in a strong challenge at the top of the table this season. And if you want my actual opinion on it, I think it'll be between Man City, Liverpool and Spurs for the top 3 places.
Hope you enjoyed that show, and I'm sure you agree that it was a great night. Gary Mabbutt, I'm sure definitely enjoyed it, as did the 200 odd that were there in the crowd today. We'll try and bring you another highlights reel from another Legends Night as soon as we can, and until then, we shall see you soon. Bye bye. I've got a spare envelope, please, have you? I've got a spare envelope locked up around. That's right. I got a 99 there. Spare envelope. We love it. Yeah, do you want to put me in the car? Oh, that'd be cool, yeah, cheers. Thank you for watching that video. If you want to see more content from the Tottenham Supplements, and from me in particular if you like, just click the subscribe button on this channel, and also click the bell, because that will also alert you to when new content is uploaded, and we try to upload maybe 2 or 3 videos a week where we can. So just click the buttons and enjoy what comes up.